Everybody, we are going to start a new unit. This is currently Unit 4, Linear Functions. We are going to talk about in this unit interpreting what slope and x and y intercepts mean. We're going to talk about the way equations are written and how we can use them to graph. And we're going to talk about the meaning of y equals mx plus b and what happens if I change m and I change b. So if you could please go ahead and copy down your table of contents. That means you're probably going to have to pause the video right here so that you can copy it all down and then push play when you're done copying it. Okay, so you should currently have two sheets of paper. You should have this page that says Interpret Intercepts, and you should also have this page that says Interpreting Slope from a Graph and a Table. And those are the two things we're going to talk about today in this video. So, interpreting slope and interpreting intercepts. So we want to know, what do they mean? So they're all going to be put in like real world context, like salon profits and Paul's job. You know, just different things that happen in the real world. So let's start with this first one. It's pretty easy to fold. So you're just going to fold it in half, just like so. And we are going to talk about the meaning, okay? So when asked to interpret what does something mean, you need to pay careful attention to the labels and what each of the variables mean, okay? So we're going to start by answering some questions about the graph. So the first question is, what is the title of this graph? Well, the title is listed up here at the top of the graph, and that title is called Salon Profits. Okay? Salon Profits. Then it says, what is on the x-axis? Remember, the x-axis runs left and right, and we can usually find the axis if we look for the numbers, because they usually number the axis. So here is the x-axis right here. And so what is on the x-axis? They labeled it as the number of haircuts. So the x-axis is the number of haircuts. So we're at a salon, so it kind of makes sense that they're talking about the number of haircuts at that salon. The next question is, what is on the y-axis? Well, remember, the y-axis goes up and down, and they've labeled part of the y-axis for us, and they call it profit. Okay? Well, that kind of makes sense. Remember, profit is money, how much money we've made. So profit, and that's in dollars. Okay? So that's on the y-axis. The next question they ask is, what is the x-intercept? So remember, the x-intercept is where it touches the x-axis. So that's right here at 12. And so remember, we've been writing that as an ordered pair. So we would say that's 12, 0. Well, 12 stands for the x, and 0 stands for the y, right? So this means I have 12, what is on the x-axis? Haircuts. And on the y, it's profit, so $0. So what does this intercept mean? It means after 12 haircuts, the profit is $0. Okay? That seems wrong. Shouldn't I have made money after 12 haircuts? Well, yes and no. Okay? So if you look, we've got our y-intercept. Okay? And so we're going to talk a little bit more about that in just a second. But 12 haircuts, basically this means profit is how much you make after you pay for everything. Like, I have to pay for the salon chairs, and I have to pay for the rental of the building. So profit is what's left over after all of that. So it takes me 12 haircuts to make all that money back that was just my startup costs. And then after that, I start making money that I get to keep. Okay? So what is the y-intercept? Well, the y-intercept is where it touches the y-axis. And so if you notice, it touches the y-axis right here at -200. So that's going to be my y-intercept. So I'm going to write that as 0 for x and -200 for y. So 0 for x and -200 for y. So what does that mean? Well, let's go back up to what the labels are on my axis. I've got 0 haircuts and negative $200. So 0 haircuts means negative $200. Okay? Okay, that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. If I was reading an answer choice or I was trying to tell somebody what I meant by that, I wouldn't say, oh, 0 haircuts is negative $200. I would say it cost me $200 before I even set up my salon and started cutting hair. Okay? So we're going to say $200 was the startup fee for the salon. But understanding that that really means before I cut any hair, I had to pay $200. Okay, that's what negative means. I had to pay that negative amount. Okay? Alright, let's look at the next example. So the next example is a table of information. So if it's asking me what does it mean, then I have to first look at the title. What is the title of this graph? It's Cafeteria Account Balance. I'm just going to put cafe. Okay, cafe account balance. What does that mean? Well, that means how much money is left in my account after a period of time. Okay? So, what is the title for the X column? So here is the X column. X column is always the first one, remember? And Y is always the second one. So the title is weeks on the X column. What is the title for the Y column? Well, the Y column has a title here of remaining balance. And it's always good to think of things in terms of the units that we're doing. So obviously weeks is already given a unit, but remaining balance, I need to think about it as money remaining in my account. Okay? So, what is the x-intercept? Remember, the x-intercept means I keep x and I make y 0. So which one in this table shows that I've kept x and I've made y 0? Looking on the y column, that's going to be 4, 0. Now remember, 4 stands for the x and 0 stands for the y. So what does this mean? Well, 4 weeks, $0. So after 4 weeks, I had a $0 left. $0 remaining. Then it asks for the y-intercept. Remember, for the y-intercept, I'm going to keep y and make x 0. Okay, so if I keep the y and make x equal to 0, that means I need to look on the x column for when x is equal to 0. So when I go back up here into my table, x is 0 here, and that's at 100. So this is 0, 100. 0 stands for x, 100 stands for y. And if I go back and look at it, it says that 0 is in the x column, which stands for weeks. So 0 weeks, remaining balance is $100. So 0 weeks, that really just means at the very beginning, right? So 0 weeks, $100 left. Well, that just really means I started with $100. Okay? Okay, we're going to go ahead and skip this thing about total tube transport, so you can just cross it off. We're not going to do that one. And we're going to move on down to spaghetti dinner. Spaghetti dinner says, tickets for a spaghetti dinner cost $4 for children and $6 for adults. The equation 4C plus 6A equals 36 represents the number of children C and adults A who can eat at the dinner for $36. If no children are eating dinner, how many adults can eat for $36? So it says, what does the X represent? Well, X is really C, and it says the number of children C. So X represents the number of children. And what does the Y represent? Well, that means A, and that's the number of adults. Okay? And it equals $36. So they're saying no matter what, we're going to pay $36, but how many children and adults can eat, and I would get paid $36. There's a bunch of different options for that. For instance, if one child ate, that would be $4 per kid, and that would mean $6 per kid. Okay? So if I want to know the x-intercept, that means I'm going to keep x and make y 0. Okay? So in my equation, we said c was x and y was a. So we're going to keep x, so we say 4c plus, and then we say 6 parentheses 0 equals 36. But what does that do? That really means that the 6 times 0 cancels out, and it's just 4c equals 36. Right? Then you divide by 4, so c equals 9. So my ordered pair is 9, 0. Now remember, the 9 represents the children, and the 0 represents the adults. So what does this mean? 9 children and 0 adults can eat for $36. Okay? Now we're going to find the y-intercept. That means keep y, make x 0. So we'll have the same equation, but this time we're going to make this c 0, so 4 times 0, plus 6a equals 36. This really just cancels out, and so we divide by 6 on both sides, and so a equals 6. Sorry, I got distracted by the 2 lines I drew, sorry. So divide by 6 on both sides, so a equals 6. So that's my ordered pair. Remember, it's 0 for the x, 6 for the y. 0 stands for the children, 6 stands for the adults. So what does this mean? 0 children and 6 adults can eat for $36. Okay? Alright, so that is interpreting x and y intercepts, and you should glue that in on page 23. So right now, glue this in on page 23 of your notebook. Okay? Pause the video so you can do that so you don't lose it. And let's go ahead and when you're done, push start again and we'll do the next page. The next page is over interpreting slope from a graph or a table. And this one you have to pay careful attention to how I'm folding it in order for this to work. This is a magical poof book, so I'm going to show you what to do. So you're going to fold it in half like this. And you might need to pause the video and rewind it so you can see what I did. You're going to fold it in half like this. So we folded it in half. Okay? And then you're going to fold it in half again. This way this time. Make sure you make some good creases, otherwise this poof book doesn't work. So fold it in half, and then fold it in half one more time so that it looks like a book, but it's really not going to work like a book yet. So fold it in half as many times as you can to make it happen. Sorry, my fingers hurt, so that's why I'm wearing band-aids on them. So I had to use a marker to crease it. Okay, once you're done folding it to where it looks like this, then you're going to open it all the way up. Okay? Now it's really important before you make any kind of cut that you go ahead and you use a highlighter and you mark where I'm about to mark. Okay? So you're going to make a cut right here. And I'm going to show you how you're going to do that. But go ahead and put a mark right there on your paper with a highlighter. Okay? Mark it right now so that way when we go to cut, you know where we're going to cut. Okay? Alright, so now you're going to take your paper and you're going to fold it in half like this. Okay, so it needs to be folded like this. Alright, with your paper folded in half, do not unfold it. You are going to cut on the pink line that I just drew. So only up to the end of that line. You're going to stop right there at the end of that line. Don't go any further. Stop right there. You're not going to cut any further. So when you cut it, it should look like this. You should have cut it where I drew the pink line a second ago, like I said. Alright, now we're going to open it up one more time. And now we are going to fold it like this. And now you should be able to make an accordion with it. See, it kind of does that. So you fold it like that and you push it together. And when you do that, it should make a book. Now if you need some help, you can whisper to somebody beside you, but try not to be too distracting because I don't want you to get in trouble. Okay? So it turns into a little poof book like this, and now we're ready to go. Alright, we're going to interpret slope from graphs and tables in this poof book. Okay? Now we're going to need to turn to page 24 in your notebook before we do anything. And we're going to write something down. So page 24 in your notebook. Page 24. Interpret slope. Alright, so what you're going to do is step 1, you're going to find the slope. And then step 2, you're going to find the units. On X and Y, whether it's on the Y-axis and the X-axis, or it's on the columns on the table, wherever, but you're going to find those units. And then step 3, you're going to write the unit, write the rate using units. You're going to write the rate using the units. And this should be written on page 24 of your notebook. If you didn't write it, please do so right now. And here we go. Make sure you pause it if you need more time. So we're going to take a look at the book. The book here is Interpreting Slope from a Graph and a Table. We're just going to open it up to this very first one, and we are going to find the slope. So remember, slope is rise over run. So rise over run, meaning we've got to find 2 pretty points. There we go. Okay, how high is it? Well, it looks like it's 1 high, but is it really 1 high? Well, if I come over here, no it's not. It's actually 5 high. So this is 5. This is 1 though. So it's change in Y over change in X, which is 5 over 1. Okay? Now, I suggest you leave it like this if they ask you to interpret it, because now we have to talk about what does the Y stand for and what does the X stand for. Okay? So in this case, what does the Y stand for? Well, the Y stands for the total pay in dollars, right? So we're going to put dollars on top. And then what does the X stand for? Well, the X stands for hours worked, so we're going to put hours on bottom. And so this is $5 per hour. Okay? Whoops, I forgot to put the 5. So this is $5 per hour. And that's it. That's all you write. $5 per hour. How did we get these words? Well, we looked on the Y-axis for the Y's and on the X-axis for the X. Y is on top, X is on bottom. Okay? Alright, let's go ahead and find slope from the table. So to find the slope from the table, we're going to draw our arrows. This is plus 6. This is plus 1. So slope is change in Y over change in X. So it moved 6 on top and 1 on bottom. Amount charged, that means money. And hours worked, that goes on bottom. The Y is amount charged. Remember, it's X and Y on the table. So X is on bottom and it's hours, and Y is on top and it's the amount charged. So we're going to write our statement, $6 per hour. Okay? Pretty easy. Just find the slope and then decide what the units are on the X and the Y. Okay? On the next one, so we're going to find the slope. Draw our arrows. This is +1. This is +7. So it's change in y over change in x. The y changes by 7. The x changes by 1. What's on the y-axis? That's dollars charged. And on the x-axis is miles traveled. So this is dollars over miles. And my rate is going to be $7 per mile. Okay? Alright, Todd's account. On Todd's account, we have to find 2 pretty points on our graph in order to find the slope. So we start here, there's a pretty point, and the next pretty point is way over here. So it's a long, skinny one. It looks like it's only 1 high, but that really is 100 high. And this is 10 across. So change in y over change in x, that's 100 over 10. If I simplify that, that's going to be 10 over 1. And then I just need to put the units. So what units do I have here? Amount in dollars, and here, number of years. Y-axis goes on top, x-axis goes on bottom. So this represents $10 per year. Done. Okay, 2 more here. Alright, here we are at the amount of oil and the number of minutes. So we're going to look at it. We've got our 2 points already given to us. And let's just say that we're counting by ones on the y-axis here. Pretty sure that's what it's supposed to be. So how high is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And how far across is it? 20. From 0 all the way to 20. So we're going to write our change in y over our change in x. Our y changed 8, our x changed 20. The next thing you need to do is divide. So you do 8 divided by 20, and then you push math, enter, enter, so that you get the fraction to work with, which is 2/5. And what does y stand for? It stands for gallons. And what does x stand for? Stands for minutes. So this is 2 gallons every 5 minutes. This is the first rate that doesn't have a 1 in it for what we're doing right now. Okay, and the very last one is a table. Remember, it's x on top, y on bottom. Let's find the change. So up here it changes by plus 0.5. Down here it changes by plus 0.8. So it's change in y over change in x. That's 0.8 over 0.5. When you divide, so you do 0.8 divided by 0.5, push enter, then push math, enter, enter, then that gets you 8/5 on your calculator. What does the top stand for? Stands for pounds. No, it doesn't. The top is x. The top is y, and I was just saying it was x. Top does not stand for pounds. The top stands for inches, and the bottom stands for pounds. So y on top, which is inches, and then x on bottom, which is pounds. And so this is 8 inches every 5 pounds. So to find slope from graphs and tables, all you do is make sure you take a look at the units. You find the slope like you always do, and then you have to write the fraction with the unit so that you know 8 goes with inches and 5 goes with pounds, because 8 is a change in y, which is inches, and 5 is a change in x, which is pounds. Okay. All right. Go ahead and glue this into your spiral underneath the directions for how to do this on page 24. It just goes right here. So go ahead and glue that down. And thank you so much for watching. Have a nice day.